The big news here is what is going on with the so-called death cross. What is it? What's happening? Is it going to actually happen? So let's talk about that. Right now, a lot of people are talking about something called the death cross. It's a looming death cross. Everyone is worried about it. And essentially what the death cross is first of all, it could signal that we're entering a bear market if it does happen. And what it is, for those of you who are not familiar, who have never heard of it before, it's when the 50-day moving average crosses below the 200-day moving average. If that happens, that's a clear sign that we could be entering a bear market like we did back in 2018, back in 2019, after we saw the market have a major correction. So back in 2018, when we saw this happen, we saw Bitcoin's price drop 70%. Then in 2019, when this happened, we saw Bitcoin's price drop 47%. The only time we didn't see a major move of about 50 to 80% correction happen after we saw this so-called death cross was back in 2020. Last year, during the pandemic, we saw it briefly cross before we reached new all-time highs. So that's one of the only times where we saw it have a death cross, where the 50-day moving average did cross below the 200-day moving average, and then we didn't see like a 50% correction. So that was one time. But right now, there's a lot of reports saying that Bitcoin's price could drop to about $20,000 per coin if we see it cross below that if we see the 50-day moving average cross below the 200-day moving average, and we see the death cross happen. If that were to happen, people are expecting that we would see Bitcoin's percentage in total market cap of the crypto market would increase dramatically. So right now, Bitcoin has a dominance of 44.8%. People are expecting that we would see that go well above 50% if it does happen. On the other hand of this, a lot of people are still very bullish on crypto. They're saying, look, we're continuing to buy. We have a strong support at around $30,000 per coin, and we don't think we're dropping below that anytime soon, if not ever. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But the one thing that we do know is that typically in every single time that we have had a major correction happen, is that right after we see it cross below, once we see the 50,000 cross below the 200-day moving average, if we see that happen, typically we'll see a little bit of a relief rally. We'll see the price of Bitcoin continue to rise again, but it would reach a lower high than it did previously. And if we see that happen, then that would confirm the trend that we have switched from a bullish market into a bearish market. Me personally, I'm pretty bullish on crypto, very bullish actually. And I think that by the end of the year, the major things to keep an eye out on, even if this does happen, would be what is going on with institutions. We're seeing with Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs being approved. I've talked about this a lot of times on the channel. In my opinion, those are going to be things to keep an eye out on. Yes, we want to keep an eye on this 50-day and 200-day moving average, and if the death cross happens. And we'll have to keep an eye on that, and I'll keep you guys updated on what goes on here, because it will be a sign for a lot of people who follow technical indicators that probably we're entering a bear market and we will see a sell-off. It's just inevitable if it does happen. But if we're talking about 6-8 months down the road, I think we're in a great position for crypto, because institutions are finally starting to realize the potential of Bitcoin, Ethereum. They're starting to put more money in, and if we see a Bitcoin and Ethereum ETF approved, well, that would be a sign to me that major money is starting to come into the market. We would start to see, tens of billions, hundreds of billions of dollars poured into crypto through these Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs. But that is what the so-called death cross is, and what's going on with it, if it's going to happen, and how it would affect your portfolio if it does.